Let me do this. Hi, thank you for choosing our workshop today. We are presenting Welcome Back to the Live and In-Person World. I'm Kim Blasiak, the New York State PTA Outreach Coordinator.
And I'm Beth Sniffen, the Westchester East Putnam Region Director.
So today we're going to talk about getting back into the swing of things with the live meetings. So first and foremost, it starts with your membership. So members are your lifeblood of your PTA. So without your members, you can't accomplish your mission of helping children, families, schools. You really can't do anything. You can't function without your members. You need help. So the top reason that people give for not joining PTA in their school is that no one asks them. Something small, but instead of just handing a form, if you see people at a school gathering or in the pickup line, just, hey, you know what, why not join PTA? Are you a member yet? Oh no, this is what we're doing. Just ask them. A lot of times, more than not, they'll join. And the way, like I was saying, the way we need people to ask to join needs to be personal, powerful, and meaningful. One example that we have from a unit is they had some of their elementary classrooms make a homemade invitation to join the PTA from the kids. So when the kids went home, they had a handmade invite to give to their parents along with a form. It was something that connected the students with the membership. So where do we start? First of all, before COVID, did you stay with PTA protocol during COVID? So when you switched before COVID to during, were you still looking at your bylaws and following? Were you still having elections? Were you still essentially doing business, just not in person? So did your nominating committee meet according to your bylaws, and was your slate elected properly? You want to kind of take a look, and it was hard for everyone. So of course there's understanding that it was hard for a lot of groups to get together, but you just want to see where you're going to start in the new and hopefully live year. So improper elections are they're the number one reason for dissatisfied members. Members don't like it when they're just told who's going to be in a position. They like to know that they're part of the process and they're part of the community. So does your unit have the perception of being a clique? Is it something where people are like, oh, I'm not going to go there, they just choose their friends? You have to really take a hard look at yourselves. And if this was something before COVID that your unit was like, you might want to take a look as you're getting back, because we're starting over. And like I said, were you having issues before COVID? You really want to just look at everything across and see where you stood before as you lead into. So my favorite quote, be curious, not judgmental. Walt Whitman actually said the quote, but I saw it for the first time on Ted Lasso. And he's right. Instead of just assuming and being quick to pass judgment, you want to ask questions. You want to be curious. It's better to know where to start or where people stand instead of just saying, oh no, they're not going to do this or they wouldn't be interested. There's nothing wrong with asking a question. There's no stupid question. And Ted Lasso is awesome. So how open are your meetings? So when you have your meetings, are you sending notifications to all your parents and teachers? And how are you actually passing out this information? So you want to make sure that it's not something where you're just sending it in one area and, oh, well, if someone doesn't look, they don't know. So are you sending home things in backpack mail? I know with my kids, I still get backpack mail. I know some schools are different. Is it listed on the school calendar? A lot of districts, ours, it's like the holy grail, where every year we get that big district calendar. And are the meetings listed on the calendar ahead of time so people can plan? Do you have a PTA newsletter? If you have a PTA newsletter, you can put all of the meetings, you can have even your minutes, or maybe follow this website for a link to your minutes, just to be as open as you can. Is it listed on a PTA website or social media? Social media is, I mean, it's everywhere, it's inescapable. So do you have a Facebook account, a Twitter account? Are you putting things out there? A basic email. Our district has what's called SNN. So we send them out through email through SNN. And also putting in teachers' mailboxes. That also comes to like just regular forms about events. It could be a membership form. They check their boxes. They still use paper. So are you putting things in the teachers' mailboxes to let them know? Do you include and welcome all new parents? So the kindergarten parents, do you actually take a moment to go speak to them and say, hey, welcome to the school. We can't wait to have you join us. Do you include non-English speaking parents? So we have a translating service through New York State PTA where we can translate documents. Are you making sure that you have translation in your meetings if need be? Do you ask for and accept input at meetings? People need to feel like they're being heard, and they should be heard. Are you transparent with your members, and are you inclusive? So do your members have to search you out to find out information, or are you open and you're saying, here it is, here we go? And inclusivity is, you have to be inclusive nowadays. Everyone is part of the community. You need to make sure everyone is included. So for the PTA meeting, you need to make sure everyone knows their goal and their role. So you want to make sure that at all times, there's someone to greet every attendee. Now, especially live, you want to make sure if someone walks through that door, it's like, hi, I'm Kim, I'm the treasurer, and what's your name? I haven't seen you before. I'm so glad you could come. We're looking forward to hearing what you have to say. Each person on the team respects and values diversity and thoughts. Everyone is different. And like I tell my kids, if everyone were the same, it would be boring. Normal and the same, they're boring. You have to respect that everyone brings something to the table. It's going to be different. And that's what makes it so unique. Are you allowing people to speak and volunteer? We've all been to those meetings where it's the board at one part of the table and the new people at the other part. And, oh, the book sale, yeah, I've got that next week. Oh yeah, the Fall Fest, nope, I'm already on it. You need to allow people to actually speak, make sure they're being heard, and volunteer. You explaining all events and programs for new members, especially coming back from COVID. You always want to do a refresher, even though you probably know every event program front, center, backwards. Assume that the general audience doesn't, and explain exactly what's going on and what it entails and how you get things out there. Because people aren't going to volunteer if they don't know what's going on. And does everyone feel welcome and a part of the discussion? You need to make sure that every person in that room feels comfortable, feels like they're being heard, that it's a safe space for them to be heard, and they can say whatever they need to with respect, and that they're part of the team and part of the community. Board responsibilities during meetings. So a presiding officer is the facilitator. Usually this would be the principal, not the principal, sorry, the president. That was a slip. So usually it'd be the president. If the president for some reason isn't there, then it's usually the vice president, someone from the board, but one of the officers of the PTA would be a facilitator. So an agenda and sufficient information should be provided prior to the meeting. You don't want any surprises. You don't want someone sitting there for the first time, unless they genuinely didn't see it, looking at something and saying, well, what do you mean we're voting to spend this much money on this event? We haven't heard of this before. We didn't know that this was going to happen tonight. That the decision-making process is appropriate and clear. You want to make sure that everyone knows how a vote's going to go, when you're going to vote, what the process is. If you have an idea how that idea becomes an actual program or event, you want to make sure the whole process is just open and out there. So, and that all members have a fair opportunity to influence the decision. No one's going to come to a meeting if they feel like their voice and their opinion isn't going to be heard. And everyone should have the opportunity to speak freely and to feel that their voice is actually going to influence either way a decision. It shouldn't just be a board making a decision and calling it a day. You want to keep up the pace of the discussion. You definitely don't, I mean, and this happens in our meetings too, where you're on agenda, you're on point, and then all of a sudden someone brings up, for example, a book fair, and you're like, oh my God, you remember that the books didn't come last time until the other thing? Yeah, and then this person was doing this, and then we had to run out. And that reminds me, we have to run out for the ice cream social, and we have to, no, you can just, that's called something that can be solved in an email. Always keep up the pace of the discussion, because at the end of the day, you want to be aware of the time and you want to be respectful of others people's time. If it's something that you can do in an email later, that's for the presiding officer, whoever the facilitator is, to say, okay, you know what, we're going to discuss this at a later time, or we're going to table this, we're going to move on. So if hybrid, you always have one person appointed at the least to keep track of the chat, because that's something where there are still people out there that are not comfortable to be live, and that's completely fine. We got used to this for a long time, and a lot of us are still doing it. Make sure that someone on your board is always looking at the chat, because even though someone isn't there live, their voice matters just as much as everyone else that is in that meeting. So you want to make sure that someone is constantly looking and saying, oh, I'm just going to stop for a second. Beth has a question from chat. This is her question. That's important.
How effective, how effective is your board structure? Do you have teacher liaisons? And do you meet with your teacher liaisons before your first meeting? And why is this critical? Of course, you want to meet with your teachers and also, your principals before your first meeting, so that you know what your goals are for the year and that you're all on the same page. That's really important before you start your first meetings. Do you budget for trainings, workshops, and conferences? These all are very important as to that you learn how to conduct efficient meetings. You learn how to do your your financials, you know how to do audits, and you know how to do so many other things. In addition to meeting other PTA officers and share other opinions with people. Is your board open to ideas and opinions? Are you sharing ideas and opinions with your members? And are you allowing your members to share ideas and opinions with you? This is so an important thing, because your members are part of your PTA. Everybody has a voice, and it's not just the board that's making the decisions. Is your board holding their own conversation during meetings? So often we go to meetings and we sit there in the audience and we watch boards just carrying on conversations, and the audience just doesn't feel that they're part of that conversation. You don't feel that you even know what they're talking about. So it's so important to make everybody feel included, feeling part of the conversation, and even letting people know where the conversation started. Did the conversation start at the last meeting? And know where the conversation is going. So these are all very important things to do at meetings. A member needs a sense of belonging, a feeling of welcome, and a sense of being appreciated. If a member doesn't feel like they are welcome or feel that their voice is appreciated, they're not going to come back again. And we often hear that from our members, that sometimes, you go to meetings and you're just listening. And I think that, that sense of, being greeted at the door, letting people be heard, and even knowing what is actually going on, sharing an agenda, sharing your financial statement every meeting, so that you're being totally transparent, is very important. Share in planning activities, programs, and goal settings. Like I just said, to let the membership know that they are part of the PTA. Voting, they get to vote on these things, So while they get a chance to vote, they need to know all of the information um, as possible in order to be able to vote on these activities. They have to vote on the uh, the financials in the beginning of the year. So the programs are very important, and they feel that they're contributing to a good cause that extends beyond themselves, and that what is being done is worthwhile. Of course, advocacy is a huge, huge thing with the PTA, and linking them into what the PTA is doing um, on a local level and even on the state level and the region level for what is being done not only for their child but for all children is really, really important. To know what is expected and therefore work confidently. They we all know that each person is able to work by themselves and work in a group. And we can all know that people can, we're all adults, and we can work by ourselves, and we can work in a group and don't have to be told what to do. We have to just see that progress is being made, kept in the loop, and have confidence in the leadership that we have. Attracting and retaining active members, and utilize motivational techniques such as showing a personal interest in people and seeking their own opinions and advice. This is, everything that we've been saying all along, that it's so important to include people, to make them feel welcome and included, make them feel that they are part of the PTA. They are members, and we all feel that everybody's voice is important. Treating ideas with interest and respect. As we know, with COVID, we've had to go into things that we have never known before. So we learn new things, and we should take the best of what we learned and move forward. We shouldn't go back to, oh, this is what we've always done. We should move forward, and we should say, okay, we've learned from this, and perhaps parents like this type of meeting, and perhaps parents like this type of program, and maybe this type of meeting works best. Those are ways that we need to grow in ourselves and in our units and as a PTA. Making facts available to all members so that they're knowledgeable. Now we have great, techniques and technical things available. We have the member hub, and we have all these social media platforms that we can share all of this information with our members. So there's really no excuse for not letting members know all this information that is going on. Imagination. Consider adapting PTA programs, projects, and meetings as changes occur. And we have said through COVID that we're PTA flexible, and we all have tried that. And we've been patient, and we've been flexible. And I think that as a state, every unit should try to, be that as well. So, learn to now adapt your programs to hybrid and going back live, because live is not going to be live as we knew it. So we are going to adapt to a different world, and our meetings are going to be different. So that doesn't mean they're going to be bad, but they're going to be different, and they might be better. So always be willing to change, be willing to invite new people who are more likely to come forward with great new ideas, and say that you're welcome to new ideas. If people aren't, comfortable to share ideas in a meeting, perhaps tell them to email ideas to you. I always get ideas like that because sometimes people are shy to share in meetings. Try, test, and refine your ideas and encourage innovative ideas from others. And that's really important. And help to eliminate negative phrases such as "we've always done it this way." I think when you're in a role of leadership, that phrase is such a, a phrase that you never want to hear, because you always want to be willing to have your unit, your board, and everybody be willing to go down a road that maybe not is straight, but maybe a little windy, and you're able to get to the same place. And it may be a better place. So it's not always, it may not always be the way you've done it, but it may be a better place. So be flexible and generate excitement for the imagination. Be excited for new ideas. Don't you know uh, don't be negative to people who are trying to put things forward that maybe will change things, but you don't know how it'll change. Encourage participation of members. Recognize that groups can solve problems better than individuals. I always say this, that sometimes we're always willing to jump in because you can solve the problem, but delegating and having committees, uh, definitely they're there to do that, and they're there to learn. So of course the president is always able to solve all the problems, but are you then going to be burnt out by November? And is everybody then in your unit going to learn? So everybody's on the board to help out, to be there, and everybody wants to do their part. Respond promptly to questions or offers of help. I think that there are so many ways that people can help. People that work nighttime, they can help doing some things. People that work um, all different hours. You have to be flexible with, jobs that you can give people, and everybody has something to offer. Build a warm and caring atmosphere to generate enthusiasm and a willingness to be involved. I think this is so important. I think the most important thing is to be positive, and if your unit is positive, you're going to generate um, a great energy that will pass on to all of your members, and then they'll feel more comfortable to then be a part of your unit and be wanting to participate, and also wanting to share their ideas. Divide jobs into smaller and manageable parts, and make sure that no job is really too big for somebody. And also, as I said, resist the temptation to do everything yourself, and definitely delegate and don't micromanage. Handling meeting conflict. The impact of conflict on a group depends on what conflict is about and how it is initiated and how it is managed. You can look upon dissent as a means of creating understanding and mutual respect. And it's very important to let everybody know that they've been heard. I think that it's important to sit down with people and let them be heard, and let them understand that there is a person at the other end of their argument, and at the other end of who they're yelling at. Um, it's very important now that in uh, this time of much anxiety, that we all just take a step back and know that we're in this PTA, we've signed up to be leaders. And so us as leaders, we have to show that um, we are being kind to each other. And then us being kind to each other is a good example for our members. And we all have to understand that we've been hiding behind sometimes a black screen for all of our meetings. So now that we're, in person for some meetings, we have to understand that, some things that we were very, we said with the understanding that people weren't looking at us. Now we're in person, and it can be more hurtful with to say unkind things.
No more keyboard warriors.
Yes, keyboard warrior. How good of a listener are you? Do you listen to what people are saying? Do you interrupt the speaker? I think, and it says here, we don't learn from talking, we learn from listening. You have to be patient and let the person complete what they're saying. Don't interrupt the speaker, and please don't judge somebody before you hear them speak. Everybody has a right to share what they want to say. Maybe they have a fabulous idea. You never know where those ideas are coming from, and take notes from everybody that has ideas. And you never know where things may lead you. Communication is the lifeline of the PTA. And we all know that nonverbal communication is a million words, right? So smiles and frowns and shrug of the shoulders. We all know that how we act is it means so much. So a pat on the back, it just means so much nowadays. But if we're, waving a hand at somebody, or we're frowning at somebody, or we're turning a back on somebody, we may not even do it intentionally, but now that we're back live, we should pay attention to how we are acting. Making eye contact with others when we're speaking to them, and smile encouragingly when listening to a suggestion or an idea. We always want to engage with people and smile as they're talking to us, because we want to know that we're happy that they want to engage with us.
Hey, and
We're,
go ahead. No, go ahead.
we're so happy that you chose this workshop, because this is so important coming back from COVID. How units transition back will be so important to everybody.
And we are here to help you along the way, help you navigate the new normal. And if you need anything at all, feel free to reach out. Go to the nyspta.org site. You can find contact information for Beth and I. And like Beth said, thank you so much. We're so happy that you chose to take our workshop, and good luck and enjoy the rest of the convention.